I've had a look around and actually I'm really dismayed.
Interesting. This is the channel closest to the island.
So I've got my bacon, and in here I've got some of the potatoes that I cooked up with my steak last night. Nice boiled potatoes, I just sliced those up a bit. And there's this green pepper which I was going to use with some eggs for a kind of omelette type thing, but it's already starting to go soft and sort of dissolve, and it needs eating. So just frying up the potatoes, and there's a tiny little bit of broccoli there from last night as well, but frying up the pepper, capsicum if you like, and the potatoes in the bacon fat. Got my bacon, got my coffee. That's my breakfast. Well, I'm not in a massive rush this morning. Got nice breakfast made with some of the fresh stuff I brought with me, and had quite a late finish yesterday. It was after 6 when I got to this island campsite. I wasted a bit of time looking at that first island a little ways away, but I achieved my goal for yesterday, which was assuming the floatplane flight got in at a reasonable time. I had an early morning flight scheduled. It took a little bit of time to get going for various reasons. There were some concerns about the weather. There were some thunderstorms rumbling around in the far distance, and they were just worried about getting back. Well, not worried, but there was just some concern about getting back if the weather closed in. It was a 100 miles flight from Red Lake to where I started, and then the pilot obviously had a 100-mile flight back again as well. And yeah, so my goal was to get to Night Owl Lake if I could, at least get off Family Lake, and I did that, and I achieved that, and I covered a decent amount of distance in the afternoon. But by the time I got here, got set up, got some firewood, got the dinner on. Fresh stuff always takes longer to cook. Got some water. I didn't have any water when I got here really. I finished my last water when I got here, so I had to produce water. That all took time, and I got to bed about 10:30. And I was really tired, to be honest. My body clock is still not quite right. Yesterday was my 3rd full day in Canada. I'm 6 hours behind UK time, which means that 10:30 in the evening is actually 4:30 in the morning, and my body clock certainly felt like it was 4:30 in the morning yesterday evening. So I had a really good sleep last night. I did wake up quite early, but then watched sunset, but then went back to bed for about an hour and a half. I've got up, I've had a reasonably relaxed morning. It's now just after 9. Got my breakfast. I've got some really nice coffee. That Nabob coffee is really good, and gonna have this. I'm gonna get packed up and then get moved on. And I'm not aiming to do a massive amount today. I need to get past the Night Owl Falls, which is one of the longer portages. It's 500-meter portage. And then I'm going to get to another nice campsite if I can, which is about the same distance as I did yesterday, not including backwards and forwards on the portage. So if I can do that today, have an earlier finish, which means an earlier bed, which means an earlier start tomorrow, that means that then I can ease into it. And also I'm warming up. I haven't done any paddling since June, really, none of any consequence. I did a lot in May and June, and then I've not done it. I've been teaching out in the woods in July and early August. Now it's mid-August and I'm back out in the boat. So I'm easing my muscles into it. I'm just getting used to my kit, getting everything refined. Some of the kit's from the outfitter, so I'm not fully familiar with everything that I've got. There are a few little wrinkles and niggles with some of it, but you know, it's all fine, and I'm just loving being here. You know, the airflow today is different to yesterday. I started off sleeping last night just in a sleeping bag liner, and then the air cooled. I woke up cold, put my sleeping bag over the top of me, went back to bed, and there is not really a cloud in the sky today. There's a cooler air mass coming through. It's sunny. There's a little bit of a breeze. It's not too windy on the lake, which I'm glad about, and it's wonderful. And I'm just taking the opportunity to defrag a bit, decompress, enjoy the surroundings, which is what I'm here for. And I will set off probably mid-morning, get that portage done, maybe stop for lunch after that, and then use the afternoon to get to my campsite, but get there earlier than I got here yesterday, and that's the plan. Anyway, I'm going to have my breakfast, and I'll see you a bit later on.
Alright, so just a little update on my day. I'm leaving Night Owl Lake behind. I've come through this series of little islands. It's quite a stiff southwesterly wind today, probably about force 4 out in the lake, but I tucked around and sort of tried to use the shadow of some of the coastline, and then also of the shoreline rather, and then come into these islands, and just there was a tiny little bit of flow, but not much coming into these islands, and I've just tried to use the shadow of the islands, and I've worked my way across to this bank, and now I need to work my way down this way. That's my next little section. Need to find a portage. Alright, well that's the portage done, got all the gear through, and it was in good condition, and this explains why, because some of the locals are coming through. They got some fishing boats, some tin boats sat down here at the bottom of the portage, so they can come into this section of the river. These falls here, Night Owl Falls, there's an 8-metre drop from the river above, so this has been a traditional portage for a long time, and it's still being used by presumably the First Nations, probably from up at the Little Grand Rapids community, a little bit above where I was dropped in yesterday on Family Lake, and they've even got wheelbarrows. There was one at the other end as well. Makes sense for carting gear, maybe fishing gear, coolers, etc. through the portage. Bit of a moose antler there as well. But anyway, time for me to get my boat loaded up again. There's the bottom of the falls. Maybe get a closer look at that before I head off. Got to head off over there. A couple of hours paddling, I think, at least, until I get to where I want to camp. So there is some flow in the Berens after all. I was a little bit concerned last night with that tiny little bit coming out of Family Lake, but clearly if there's enough of a drop, we've got some flow, and I'm certainly glad to have portaged around that. And that's just the bottom. There's more above that. and this is the reason I took the right hand channel, even though it was a bit scrapey. Right, I think I'm coming up on my island camp. For the first time today I've got the wind behind me because I've turned onto a section of river and I'm heading northeast and the wind's coming from the southwest, so I've had to move things around in the boat a little bit. I've had to throw a few things in the back, so I'm bow light so the wind isn't turning me, but I'm staying reasonably well tracked with the wind at the moment without paddling. In the middle of the river ahead is what I think is the camp. There's a portage over the island, there's a falls or a rapid on either side, portage over the middle, and there's also a campsite. Hap Wilson describes it as fair. Alright, well, I'm on the island, and it's a bit scrappy. Hap's assessment of it being fair is probably slightly optimistic. It's okay. There's hardly a flat spot on the island. There's not a ton of firewood. I've got one place where I can probably get my tent in and have my body reasonably flat. It's a bit kind of undulating, but if I orientate it, it'll be okay. The flattest spot, actually, the nicest place to camp would have been at the top of the island here, but there's a couple of ants nests up there, and I'm not going to camp there. But check this out here. It doesn't look like very much from above. When we were approaching, well, when I was approaching, but you know, you would be able to see, when I was approaching the island, there was just like a line, a bit of a line on the horizon. But if you check this out, this is Crane Falls, and it's quite a messy rapid. You definitely wouldn't want to come down here in an open boat. And actually I've still got my buoyancy aid on coming close to it. Quite something. Some serious white water there. It's not something I'm going to be paddling anytime soon in an open boat, in a trad boat for sure. But this is the island. There's an old tin boat, so a trackway for portaging tin boats through the middle. It's a bit broken up. I'm going to have my fire. See where the barrel is over there. Gonna have a fire there. Gonna put my tent in here. Gonna leave my boat and everything down there for the morning, and that'll be me. I don't think I'm going to enjoy this site as much as the previous one, which was very picturesque, but it'll do. I can get a night's sleep here, I can get a feed, and I can move on in the morning. And these falls are spectacular. You know, they are really worth seeing, if a little scary from a paddling perspective. So that's the second boil done, and I've already got a full water bottle done. I've got a tea ready there to go, lemon and ginger. I'm going to chuck some honey in it. It's remarkably punchy, that stash tea, I'm liking it. And I've decided tonight to have a easy meal, Cuban style, coconut rice and black beans. I'm going to keep the rest of my potatoes and broccoli tomorrow. For tomorrow, I'll do that with an omelette tomorrow. This is going to be quick and easy. I want an early night tonight. So it's 20 to 8 nearly, pretty much done. Plenty of water there, got a litre, got another couple of litres here. I've got 750 ml of nearly of water to drink there. Got dinner sorted. Fires I don't need anymore now. It's nice to have a fire, of course, but I don't need it. And yeah, there's no washing up either, which is great. So I should be able to get my head down, certainly by 9 o'clock. And I'm going to enjoy this view in the meantime.
Morning. It's just gone 7. Yeah, just gone 7. And sun's just coming up over there as expected. I stuck my head out the tent about 6 and I was a bit disappointed that breeze was already there. I was hoping for a still morning, get up, get the fire on and get away with no breeze. It's not as strong as it was yesterday yet. Gonna have a quick breakfast. I just wanted to show you, even though this is an island with limited resources, just to show you what I've quickly scavenged in terms of kindling for the fire this morning. So here, these fine sticks, these are all from Sweet Gale, just dead standing, sticking out the top of some of the bushes, snapped off, really fine matchstick stuff. That's going to work well. Got a bit of jack pine there, which will be good to go on top. Also, I found some dead willow, lots of nice fine sticks there, plus some bigger bits there, like finger thickness stuff, a bit more there, all of which is going to be good for boiling. I need to boil water for my porridge, boil water for my coffee. And I've also got this dead standing jack pine here, not jack pine, sorry, black spruce, and I'm going to take all the little branches off that with my axe, and then that'll be more kindling, more little fast boiler sticks, and then I've got a bit more fuel in there as well that I can saw up and chuck in the fire. So that should be more than enough, I think, to get all my stuff boiled and get my breakfast on. Right, I've got my coffee, I'm happy. Had my oats, quick breakfast. Not as early start as I would have liked today. I went to bed like 9:05 last night. I was in my tent for 10 hours. I did get up for a pee in the middle of the night and the moon was pretty awesome. Stars were out, it was quite a clear sky, cooled off again in the night. I slept really well. Still feel quite tired this morning. I could have slept more, I think. And yeah, I haven't paddled for a couple of months really, not to any extent. And also I'm working on a different time zone, tired from traveling. Yeah, it's always this part of the trip that I feel most tired actually, towards the beginning. And it's also when I tend to get ratty with other people if I'm traveling with other people, so I'm kind of conscious of that in myself. But I'm just, yeah, I was surprised. I had sort of decent, definitely 9 hours sleep last night, and I still feel quite tired this morning. So, and I've got a big day ahead of me. So, yeah, it's just a case of getting off now, getting packed, getting going, making use of the time. And I don't really want to be stopping any later than 5 again. 5 I stopped last night, that was a bit late. It was okay because I had a quick meal. But anyway, I'm rambling on. But what I'm saying is I'm just talking about the sort of being honest about how you feel on these trips. And I'm sure by the end of this I'm going to feel pretty strong and I'm going to be into it. But at the moment I'm just feel like I'm still smoothing my way into routine. Don't feel like I'm fully on top of my sleep and rest at the moment, and I've got a longer day today ahead of me. So yeah, here we go. But plenty of coffee will definitely help. Well, I've been going for about an hour and a half now, and I've covered this section where I've been working into the westerly wind, and I haven't filmed very much just because I've been working. I've been trying to cut into little bays, ferry across on narrow spots to try and get into wind shadow. I'm a bit of a wind shadow here. I'm going to start turning round to the north now, and the wind's coming from the west, as I say, so it's going to be coming across. I can tuck into the left hand side and I should be out of the wind. Even here you can see the wind's catching the boat and spinning me around a little bit. Further back it was, you know, I was having to work against it quite a lot. But that's just part and parcel of this game. This boat is quite sensitive to the wind. It's reasonably high, particularly at the front. It's got quite a lot of rocker on it. It's sort of banana shaped. This is an Esquiff Prospector 16. It's a really nice boat. It's in T4Mex, which is kind of like the replacement for Roylex, if you don't know that. I think it's a bit softer than Roylex. It seems to scratch up more easily. I've got 2 Roylex boats at home, and I've used T4Mex boats a fair bit in the last couple of years. This red one, is beautiful. I'm really enjoying paddling her, and I've decided that I'm going to call her Ruby, because she's a lovely ruby red. Well, she's more of a scarlet, but I don't think that's, a character's not really a scarlet, I don't think. Ruby seems to suit her. So Ruby, the red boat, is really nice, but a little bit sensitive to the wind. Turns really easily, this boat, which is great in white water. It's great when you want to maneuver, but when you want to try and keep on track, it's a little bit more work into the wind. You've got to throw quite a lot of weight forward. So I've got everything quite far forwards in the boat so that the front cuts into the water as much as possible and it doesn't get pushed around by the wind as much. So that's me. I'm enjoying the sun. The sun's coming out. Heading north shortly towards Horseshoe Lake. You can see that on the map here. So I started at Crane Falls. I've worked through here. I'm around about this corner now, and I'm heading north into Horseshoe Lake. My aim for the day is to get all the way around into the Flower Channel there if I can, and I won't be really working against the wind at all much now, apart from maybe through here. So I'm hoping that I can make good progress. It's still before noon, it's only 11:30, and yeah, got lots of the day ahead. So I'm just going to keep plodding on. I've got one rapid as well, Manitou Rapids, which is a class 2. I'm going to take a look at that, make an assessment at the time, and yeah, aim for here perhaps as a campsite, or if I'm really managing to make some good progress, maybe down here on this point. But we'll see. That's my day.
So I'm coming into Horseshoe Lake proper here, and you can see the winds blowing across it. There's a bit of chop there, a bit bouncy, not too bad, but the wind's picking up. I've just come across this bay here from that point over there. I've come across to this headland and just to here, and now I've got to go here, but I can go back round that headland, and I'm going to try and get onto the western shore of Horseshoe Lake, which is over there, and then work my way up, get across there as soon as I can. It might mean a bit of work into the wind initially, but then I'm not going to be fighting all the time. I'm certainly not going to go straight across this, put it that way. It's going to be hard work, and it's going to put me in a more serious position should something go wrong. I'm going to stick to the edge, but I may have to work against the wind initially. But anyway, that's where I am, and just keep chipping away at it. And it's a beautiful day. It really is nice. So there's a couple of parent bald eagles in that tree there. I hope you can see the whites of the heads. And then over here, I'm not quite sure what it's up to. Just in here, it's very camouflage on these rocks. It's a juvenile, just with its wings slightly open. Well, that was a moderately tough day. The whole time I've been working westwards today, I've been working against a westerly wind, and this journey is overall, it's a westerly journey. I'm going from where I start west to Lake Winnipeg, and so unless this wind drops at all, I'm going to end up with this kind of issue every day. And luckily it kind of zigs and zags a little bit. But there were times today when I was having to go right into the wind. When I came onto Horseshoe Lake, it was quite breezy on some of the points, but I was able to work up the shoreline of Horseshoe Lake. That was pretty cool. Staying out of the wind. But then as I came round to Manitou Falls, I was in the wind there. Even going into the falls, the wind was blowing the boat a little bit, and then coming round from that, I've kind of come round here into this area, and on Hap's guidebook and marked on my map is a campsite in this area, and I looked along the shoreline and I was struggling to find it, and I was debating whether to go to the next campsite, which is about 3k up, but actually the winds died down a little bit, but this was really gusting through here. It was picking water up off the top of off the surface of the water at one point when I stopped here about 4:45 just for a cereal bar and a decision about what I was going to do. And I came up here to have a look because I was like, where the hell is this? Where the hell is this campsite? And what I found was camouflaged under this tree, the remains of an old fire pit, an old sort of fire hearth area. And so this tree here has broken off, maybe in the winter with the snow or wind or what have you, and some of it's gone that way and some of it's come here and landed right in the middle of the campsite. Positive is that there's plenty of firewood, of course, lots of firewood. Downside is the campsite's not as big as it was, and it wasn't a big campsite in the first place, but then when you look you can see that there was the sort of remnants of people tying a rope on there in the past. So this is definitely the camp spot. So I will have a fire here somewhere, probably in the back there, where it's a bit more sheltered, because as you can probably hear, it's quite windy. I'm trying to shelter the mic on the camera so it's not too blustery. And I'll get my tent in here, I think. I've got the rest of my gear. Yeah, it wouldn't work for a bigger group, but for 1 or 2 people, this is going to work fine. But yeah, windy day. I'm hoping this wind doesn't stay with me for the rest of the trip. Yeah, it's just hard work, that's all. And it just makes the days longer, which means less time in camp, less time sort of sitting enjoying the view and whatnot. So I do hope the wind dies down a little bit. But again, I'm going to try and have an early night tonight, early start in the morning. Hopefully the wind's not too strong in the morning, because I've got another hole up here for about 3 or 4k, which will be almost directly against the wind, the way that the wind's blowing at the moment. Anyway, I'm going to get a tent up, get a fire on, get a brew on, and then cook some dinner. I'm not even looking at the camera, apologies. And that's probably too windy in the mic. I really need some sort of muffler on this thing, but apologies if it's windy. I'm in a bit of a wind shadow in this section here. The wind's coming from my right as we speak, but just look at those cumulus clouds. I'm getting blown sideways now, so it's hard to see, but look at those cumulus clouds scudding across. Look how they're shifting. That's the westerly. It's sort of slight south, sort of west-southwesterly yesterday. I think it's a little bit more westerly today, but it's shifting for sure. Now that I'm coming out the wind shadow, the wind's catching me, and this is the least windy bit of water I've been on today. But yeah, the wind is definitely moving, and it is going in the opposite direction to me, to my journey, just the way it is. Alright, so I believe just about at Flower Falls, which is down in Hap Wilson's guidebook as Gnarly Class 3. There's a portage through. So I'm just going to go and check out whether it is a portage or whether I can line it. Probably is going to be a portage, but that's where we're at. Well, doesn't look quite so gnarly today, but it definitely looks bony. I'll have a closer look, but that looks like a bit of a pain in the arse to line a boat down. I don't want to take too much material off the outfitter's boat. That looks quite scrapey, so I think from the perspective of that, it's still a portage. Well, that's the mighty Flower Falls today. Not a lot of water coming down through here. Remember, there's 2 channels to this river at this point. So I think I can paddle a bit closer and then just carry my stuff across the rocks on the left there. Grade 3 when it's got water coming through it, but not today. Well, look at me with that hat on and these sunnies, but I've taken a bit of a chance here. The route in Hap's Guide kind of goes round an island and there's a couple of swifts and things, and it sounds quite nice, but with this wind I'd have to be kind of going with the wind behind me for a bit, which would be pleasant, but then I'd have to come back against the wind, and also some sections would be sort of partially against the wind, so sort of 1/3 benefit, 2/3 work. And about 5k around, and I noticed on the map there's what looked like a dried up channel, and so I've just chanced taking a kind of couple of 100 meters off course rather than going around the other way just to check the channel, and it looks like there's a big burn here at some point, forest fire, but yes, it is a dried up channel, and yes, I'm going to have to carry through. So my boat, you can't see it, my boat's just in there. This channel's dried up through here, but the water is just there. The water's just there, the water's just there. You might not be able to hear me very well because of the wind, it is breezy today. But that saves me about 5k of paddling. I'm going to take that, even if this is a little bit rough, I'll be able to get my stuff through here, even if I have to do a few runs. I think I'll do 3 runs through, but it's only a couple of 100 meters at most, and I'm saving myself at least an hour, possibly an hour and a half of paddling with this wind, and I'm going to take that and put it in the bank for sure. Well, that worked well. Rather than going after Flower Falls, rather than going all the way around here and back here, I cut through here, just cut cross country, quite rough, but saved that distance all the way around there, and the wind's coming from the west, so yeah, it's good. I'm going to cut around here, I'm going to aim for the campsite at Big Moose Falls, which is one of Hap's highlights, so happy with that. Not far to go. 1, 2, maybe 3. Got to be careful on the approach to Big Moose. Apparently the portage trail eddy is small and just before the fall, so we need to take care there. And remember, you've got the main flow coming back in there as well, because I've come around the Flower Channel. So yeah, there'll be more flow here than there has been on Flower Falls, for example. Alright, here's the eddy, and that's the wall that they're supposed to be pictos on according to Hap's Guide, but I can't see them anywhere. Here here's the eddy, beginning of the portage. That is Big Moose over there. That's the right hand channel flowing around there. I don't know what's round there. We'll look at the bottom of that from the campsite, but then the left hand channel is close to the actual portage.
Just left the boat back there to come down. I'm on an island. I landed the boat a bit further up, just below Big Moose Falls. Haps Guide's not clear about what grade it is on the other side. It just says a ledge and a short portage, like a 10-meter portage, like almost sounds like a lift over on the rocks pretty much. But also it says it's class 2 on this side, so I've just come to have a look at it. Quite a long run into it, and I could have, in retrospect, I could have landed down here, but I couldn't see that from back there. And then we've got the rapids in here, which in Haps Guide is, I think he calls it Big Moose Rapids, which shouldn't be confused with Big Moose Falls. He's got it as a grade 2, volume grade 2. Doesn't look too bad. It looks like there's a bit of recirculation now. I'm just going to have a little closer look at it because it's a bit rocky on the entrance. Just don't want to faff around too much. Going to have a quick look at it. Well, kind of having a little celebration of my own here, in that I am on the edge of the second map, and I'm going to go on to the third map for this journey. So I think that's worth celebrating, making progress. As you can see, there's lots of interesting stuff coming up, so I'm just coming onto this here and I'm going to go into Long Lake, and thankfully the wind is not as strong today as it was yesterday, at least not at the moment. But anyway, going to make some progress now, heading westwards. Next significant feature is Long Lake Falls, which are class 3, so there'll be a little portage there. That might be lunch, we'll see. Alright, this is the end of Long Lake here. Just lined the boat through these rapids here. Apparently these can be grade 3 sometimes, but today they're certainly not. There's an old boat pull through here for tin boats. There are 3 sections to this, so the main flow is over there, and I might just have a quick look at that shortly. I've just had lunch here, out the wind. You can see the wind on the water blowing there, so I've stopped in here, sheltered from the wind a little bit. Had some lunch, just some wraps and some cheese, nothing exciting. But I just noticed up here all this red coloration from down there, these bright red berries here. I think that's in focus, like here for example. Yeah, little heath leaves, a little bit like blueberry leaves, a little bit like cowberry or lingon leaves, but these are bearberries, and a lot of berries get called bearberries, but these are bearberries, and they're quite mealy on the inside. They're really quite dry and mealy. They taste okay, but they're not juicy. Yeah, better mixed with a bit of water. Yeah, and there's a stone, there's a pip in the middle. Yeah, so another berry. This is the middle chute on Long Lake Falls. Reasonable amount of water coming through that compared to where I went. I was pleased with my decision. Easy lining, no portage. Float plane in the background there, somewhere flying over. 2 things to mention here. One is that island there. There's a channel going either side of it, one way, one the other. That marks the 100k spot for me, 100k to go. So I'm pretty much, I've done 70k, I've got 100 to go, which is great. I'm on day 5 at the moment. And also what I've stopped in here, just flip the doodah, all of this here, I just noticed as I was paddling past, all of this is wild rice in here. Most of it isn't, it's not ripe as it were. I noticed a few kind of darker seed heads, but yeah, look, you've got, this is wild rice. This is what it looks like in the wild, as it were. And one of the traditional ways of gathering this was to canoe into the middle of it and just knock it over the canoe, and the stuff that is ripe, the stuff that is ready to harvest, falls off. They tend to be the sort of familiar, or at least if you're familiar with wild rice, the familiar sort of dark black grains of rice. I'm trying to see if I can see any here, but I can't. It's none immediately apparent that are ready to go. Possibly a couple over there. Yeah, so some of these darker heads are getting there. Some of this stuff, yeah, that's coming off. See if I can get that to focus. Come on, camera, focus. Hopefully you can see that. See the grains of rice there? You can hear those swans in the background honking. Not like the mute swans at home, which are, as the name suggests, quite quiet. They're mute. Yeah, so this stuff is getting to the point where you can see it easily falls off the heads. Yeah, you've got some wild rice. So this is a grain still in its sheaf. I'm hoping my camera's focusing properly there. It's hard to see. The backlight's quite bright. So there's one that, as it came off, and I've dehusked a couple, and that's what the grains of rice look like. Yeah, there's the husk that came off it there. Okay, so that's what you're looking at. So when you buy a bag of wild rice, that's what you're buying. And one of the reasons it's quite expensive is because it's quite difficult to harvest. Really, I've come through here and there's 2 islands marked on the map here, and you can clearly see there's 1, 2, 3 in the lake directly in front of me, and you might think, well, it was surveyed at different water level. Well, the top of them is all about the same level, so I don't really know what's going on. So I'm just double checking that I'm in the right place. There's swans again. Hello. Because I've got this here which says Wolf Falls class 1 start, then class 2 to 3. I just want to make sure I'm going in the right place. I think it's just over there, but I was going to use these islands as a marker, but given that they're not accurate on the map, I'm just double checking. Alright, well, I've landed. The eagle has landed, as it were. I'm not sure this is in focus. Come on. Don't know. Boat's down there. I've just come into this little bay, come from over there. This is supposed to be 2 or 3, grade 2 or 3, or class 2 or 3, whatever you think. That's that over there. Let's have a look. So there's a little chute here, which to me is looking
very lineable. And then you've got the main rapids over there, which right hand side, it's probably doable, although there's a bit of a stopper there. You'd have to put some power on. Left hand side looks horrible for me in a solo boat out here anyway. So there's a very easy option here, and that's what I'm going to take. This is about journeying in a wilderness, not about play boating, and it's also 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I don't want to be having an epic at this stage of the day, or at all for that matter. It's also not that warm today. The wind's coming from that direction, which is the north, as you probably noticed. Look at me again. As you probably noticed, I started off talking about it being in the southwest. When I started on Family Lake, it was quite a warm day that day, and it's got progressively, it came sort of west-southwest and westerly, and it's gone a bit more northwesterly, and it's almost coming out the north now, and the temperature's gone down. The water feels warmer now than the air, particularly in the mornings. So I don't really want to be getting soaking wet just for the sake of a bit of a yahoo. I'm a long way away from anybody here, and I'm on my own. And there's a nice lining chute there. I'm going to take it. Right, another bit of lining and then a tiny little portage. This is down as a 35-metre portage in Hap's book. Part of Crooked Falls are stuck on the right hand side, took the right hand channel, but there's very little water coming through this channel, which meant that I could line down a bit of it here, bring the boat to here, and I've just portaged over, whoops, there we go, over to there. But I thought I'd share this with you. This is quite fun. Sorry for the wobbly camera, I'm just sort of flipping the screen backwards and forwards. This part flows down through here and under the rock and out through here. Clearly it flows over here at times. There's another bit there, and then there's 2 more bits further over, and we might see the bottom of those as we go past. Then I've got to a grade 2 rapid potentially after this, and then I've got to get around Child Falls, is it? Child Falls here. There are some ways of frigging through it with a little portage at the end, so class 1 into a little eddy, and I'm just going to take the right channel and just take the portage. I'm happy to stretch my legs at this stage, to be honest. Then down the rest of here, and then into the beginning of Short Lake, and I head for this campsite here if it exists. Some of Hap's campsites don't exist. Or aren't in very good condition, and then there are other campsites which I've seen that are not in Hap's book, so we'll see. Anyway, camera's going away now. Wow, I just climbed up onto these rocks, and I think this might be the most scenic part of the river that I've seen so far. So I've come round there, the sort of far channel of Crooked Falls, but check this out. Let me just flip the, sorry, I know that's wobbly, flip the camera. Okay, so we've got that there, which is pretty spectacular. And then we come around here. Look at that. So we've got this sort of deep channel here. Wind coming again. Look at this, like amphitheatre with all this water pouring in there and there, and presumably sometimes a bit more coming round the way I came. And of course I chose that on purpose to minimise the hassle of getting down here. Now I need to go down that way. I may have to land and spot that, see what's going on around that corner. There's a lot of flow. You've got all of that and all of that going around that corner, and at the moment I can't see it, so I'm gonna have to be careful. Alright, so that's where I was stood before. I came from over there. That's where one of the channels is coming in. The other channel, you can just see the flow coming out. That's where I need to go, down there. I still can't see what's around the corner, so I'm going to try and land over there, just have a look over the rocks. There may well be a nice eddy behind, but I'm just being very careful. It's also 5:10 in the evening. I'm a bit tired and I don't want to make any silly mistakes at this stage, so I'm going to be careful. Well, that's the chute behind me now. I've landed on this shore. I can see a bit further. Quite strong flow coming through here. It's deep, but there are a few eddies there on the left hand side, so I'll be able to jump onto the left hand side and see what's further around. It is a bit committing in the sense that getting back up here would be tricky, although it would be doable. Combination of paddling and maybe some tracking. I could get back up here if I needed to. So yeah, I'm going to check out. It's only supposed to be a class 2 down here. Alright, so that was what it was. I eddy hopped from one eddy to the next up there. I could see that there was a chute, but more importantly I could see there was a big eddy down here that I could jump into regardless of what was below. In the end it was quite a nice straightforward chute, just straight down the middle. Hey diddle diddle, whoops, hey diddle diddle, straight down the middle, as my mentor and good friend Ray Goodwin would say. Then it's nice and clean down here. I'm going to hang a right at some point to avoid child falls, and that's the last obstacle for the day before my hoped for campsite. Just trying to find this portage. Boats down there, just come up here, some nice little blueberries here. Don't really know how high they need to be off the ground before they start being huckleberried rather than blueberries, but they're all vaccinium, they're all edible, and they all taste good. See, there's lots of them in here. This trail is not obvious. I kind of get the sense that there's a bit of trampling over the top here, but keep looking. Nice to have a few blueberries, particularly at 5:45 in the afternoon. This, however, a lot of people get confused about this. This, however, is not a blueberry. That's the berry of yellow clintonia, which is a lovely yellow flower. The berries are somewhat poisonous, I'm told. So don't eat those thinking they're blueberries. They're quite common, those. Clintonia borealis, I think, if I remember rightly. This looks like a vague trail over here. I'm just judging by sort of scuffing. Can you see? Some of the lichen and moss coverage is scuffed off like there. My tracking skills coming out a little bit. Yeah, and you can see it more here. There's a definite different colour. Lichens, which take a long time to grow, and then more mosses through the middle. I think I found it here, which is good. Nothing worse than a lost portage trail. Oh, and a nice little camp up here as well. I am tempted. I am tempted. Look at this. and Child's Falls below. Now this isn't marked on Hap's guide, this campsite. I suspect because he took a shorter route around the falls rather than the long portage, but you know what? 5:45. The campsite I was going for was a bit further down, but some of his other suggested campsites have been a bit shitty, to be honest, and this looks good. Nice, breezy, not too buggy. Get some shelter back in the woods if the weather comes in. There's plenty of firewood around, even some blueberries. I'm going to check the map, just double check the timings, but I think I'm going to go for this as a camp, which is an unexpected bonus. This wasn't contrived at all. This is literally this film of me coming up here from the blueberry picking back there to here is me seeing all of this for the first time. I don't know the way down. Presumably it's down there somewhere. In terms of finding the way down, I'd like to get the boat through for the morning. It ain't down there, that's for sure. Like a little canyon. Alright, must be back in the wood. There must be a split in the trail back in the woods. Unless it's down ahead of me here, but it gets super steep. Don't think it's down there. Nope, it's not down there. So, camp up here, which is good, but I still would like to find the trail down to the woods before I start moving the boat around. Lots of juniper berries here as well, actually. Not that I've got anything to use them for. And these are all pin cherries, by the way. But there's no... I got a few yesterday on one of the portage trails. It's got a very obviously cherry leaf. Prunus, can't remember the Latin name of it, but pin cherry. I got some cherries. Actually, there's one. It's only a little one. One or two here. They're a bit past it, actually. So they're quite nice. Got big pips in them. Quite sour, but if you like sour cherry taste, I'm gonna go for that one. Pretty good. Some nice berries around. Some of the juniper here's takes a while for they're actually cones, but it takes a while for them. They don't ripen that quickly. It takes them, I think, over a year. Go from green to the black ripe. If you crush them, get that lovely juniper smell. Reminds me of a nice gin, gin and tonic. So anyway, back down this little trail. Looks like there might be a trail down there into that gully, which would make sense to get boats down. I'm going to have a look. But anyway, that's me for now. I think I found my home for the night. I think I found my portage trail. I found some berries. I've got a couple of hours to get there. Get firewood in, water boiled. Yeah, there's another trail down here. And get sorted for the night. And a spectacular view. Oh, this doesn't look great though. This looks a bit rough down here. Actually, no, it's not bad. Yeah, I think I'm going to check that out before I try and take a boat down there, but I think that's the trail down this little gully to get the boat down to the bottom for loading up in the morning. Well, that is pretty good end to the day. I was going to go a couple of K further down. I've already done more than 20 kilometers today, so I think I'm going to leave it at that. Given the time, given how long it's going to take me to get everything through here, given that there's a decent campsite here and I don't know what the next one looks like. It's described as a big campsite, but the last big campsite of Hap's that was in Hap's book, that I think was written in the 80s, it was just like a overgrown promontory on the edge of a swamp. I wouldn't have wanted to camp there, so I'm going to take, given it's the next one is quite a way further,
I'm going to take this one, although there are quite a few mozzies down here already, I've noticed, but it's better up the top. I don't know if you can see these mozzies flying around in front of the, there you go, in front of the lens. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking to the camera and get on with what I need to get on with. Got the old fire circle going, built it up a little bit, got the grill on it, got a bunch of pine and, well, yeah, pine going. Got it going with some birch bark and some juniper twigs, dead juniper for kindling. Pretty good spot, eh? Look at that for a view. Bit breezy up here, but it's keeping the insects away. There's a few mozzies around, some of those eye flies. Simple meal tonight, chicken, risotto with chicken, backpacker's pantry. It is not the earliest, 20 past 7, gets dark in about an hour, mozzies are out shortly after. I'm going to get my water boiled. I'm using the coffee pot to boil some more water because it's a bit of a hike down to the water here. So I'm going to get about 4 litres boiled up here, enough for my dinner, enough for a brew, enough to put 2 litres aside overnight for cold water in the morning at least, and that'll be me sorted. So quick fire, quick boil, quick dinner, and while the dinner is reconstituting, which takes 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to set the tent up and that'll be me. Brilliant. But if it hasn't, I'm then into a bunch more rapids and stuff, and I don't want to be going down there tonight. It's going to be getting dark, so I'm going to go and check this out quickly, see if there's somewhere to get a tent up. It's a nice walk in the woods here, just making plenty of noise because I'm on my own, and you never know where there might be a bear. Not that I'm particularly worried about bears, but I think it's good to make plenty of noise. Anyway, almost an Ask Paul Kirtley rant there. Bit of, for those of you that are hankering after those. I'm going to go and put my tent up. Yeah, I just don't like the, I know it sounds a bit wishy-washy, but I just don't feel like the feel of the place. Join me in the next episode of this series as I continue to traverse the rugged yet stunningly beautiful terrain of Manitoba's boreal forest as I follow the route of the Berens River down towards Lake Winnipeg. The journey takes me even deeper into remote wilderness, yet I feel more at home in nature than I have done for a long time. The journey is demanding, yet it proves a great salve for the soul. There are lots of nature signs all around me and lots of different aspects of nature too, including the remnants, the aftermath of a forest fire. There are plenty of opportunities to apply bushcraft skills along the way, so join me in the next episode. If you liked this one, remember to hit the like button and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of this series of me travelling solo down the Berens River. Thanks for watching and see you on the next one.